Hi, this is Mr. Hutchings, and you're listening to Mr. Hutchings History. And today I am going to wrap up Unit 3 for the AP World History. Of course, this is Unit 3.4, Comparing Land-Based Empires from 1450 to 1750. The skill we're going to focus on today is comparison and causation. And our themes will be governance, technology and innovation, cultural developments and interactions, economic systems, and social interactions and organization. Emperor Qianlong of China once declared, "Foreigners respect only power. Thus, they submit to us wholeheartedly once we display our hunting techniques." To Qianlong, the hunt was not just a sport, it was a symbol of imperial might. Like many rulers of his age, he understood that displays of power, discipline, and unity inspired both awe and obedience. Why would rulers use ceremonies or public displays like a hunt or a parade to project power? It's because symbolism reinforces legitimacy. When subjects see strength, order, and control embodied in their ruler, they internalize loyalty. This reflects the theme of governance. Power is maintained not only through force, but also through image. From 1450 to 1750, great land-based empires, the Ottoman, Safavid, Mughal, Russian, Ming, Qing, Songhai, Aztec, and Inca, dominated their regions. Each conquered territory, centralized rule, and used culture, religion, and innovation to govern diverse populations. Why did such rulers of such different regions face similar challenges? Because every large empire must solve the same problems: how to control distance, how to control diversity, and how to control dissent. Geography and technology varied, but the needs for administration, taxation, and loyalty was universal. Using the historical skill of comparison, we can see both shared strategies and unique adaptations across Afro-Eurasia and the Americas. The foundation of every empire was its military. In Eurasia, rulers relied on gunpowder weapons, especially cannons and muskets, to conquer and defend vast lands. In the Ottoman Empire, elite Janissaries, soldiers recruited through the devshirme system, served the Sultan with loyalty that transcended tribe or family. In the Safavid Empire, enslaved soldiers called Ghulams protected the Shah and balanced the power of local clans. In the Mughal Empire, the emperor's authority rested on cavalry and artillery that projected power across India's plains. Even beyond Eurasia, the Aztecs and Incas used military strength, based on fierce discipline, alliances, and intimidation, to expand their rule over neighboring peoples. Why did elite military corps like the Janissaries or Ghulams matter so much to rulers? It's because they ensured loyalty to the state rather than loyalty to local leaders. Professional armies replaced feudal levies, giving rulers direct control of coercive power, a major theme in governance and in social interactions and organization. These armies, however, could also strain budgets and provoke internal rivalries, foreshadowing the decline of the empire. Conquest alone could not sustain empire. Bureaucracy made control possible. The Ming and Qing dynasties of China relied on a civil service examination system, selecting scholar officials trained in Confucian principles. The Ottoman sultans used the devshirme system not only for soldiers but also for administrators, creating a loyal bureaucratic class. The Safavid Shahs employed educated Persians known as men of the pen to manage taxation and records. The Mughals used zamindars, regional tax collectors who also enforced imperial law. The Songhai Empire drew from Islamic scholars trained in the madrasas of Timbuktu to staff its administration. The Inca divided their empire into provinces run by nobles loyal to the emperor, using an organized decimal system for population management. Why do bureaucracies often outlast the rulers that create them? Because bureaucracy becomes the skeleton of governance, a structure that allows continuity across reigns. Institutions, once built, maintain order even when leadership changes. This highlights continuity and change within governance. Maintaining large armies and bureaucracies required steady revenue. Each empire developed its own system of taxation and tribute. In the Ottoman Empire, tax farming allowed contractors to collect revenue for the state, often enriching themselves in the process. In the Mughal Empire, zamindars collected taxes from peasants based on land and crop yield. In the Ming Dynasty, taxes were collected in silver, hard currency meant to prevent inflation. In the Aztec Empire, tribute lists recorded goods like textiles, cacao beans, feathers, and captives from subject regions. What do these systems reveal about the priorities of each state? They show that taxation reflected both economy and control. The form of tribute, money, goods, or labor, depended upon what the state valued and how the state connected with its subjects. The theme of economic systems show that revenue was not just financial, it was political. Rulers didn't rely on armies alone. They needed subjects to believe their rule was legitimate. Religion, art, and architecture made that belief visible. In the Islamic empires, rulers claimed the title of caliph, or protector of Islam. In Europe, kings justified power through divine right, claiming the authority came from God. In Songhai, rulers converted to Islam to connect with global trade and Islamic law. The Aztecs used human sacrifice as a sacred performance, a warning and reassurance of divine favor. Art reinforced this legitimacy. Ottoman miniature paintings, King Imperial portraits, and European royal patronage all displayed majesty. Monumental architecture magnified it. Versailles in Paris, El Escorial, the Taj Mahal, and Ottoman mosques transformed stone into political theater. Why might art and architecture be more persuasive than written laws? Perhaps because visual splendor communicates power across language and literacy. A palace or mosque conveys authority immediately, uniting people through shared awe under the theme of cultural developments and interactions. No empire lasts forever. The same systems that built them could also hasten their decline. By the 1700s, the gunpowder empires were weakened. Succession disputes and palace intrigues bred instability. Corruption and tax burdens strained peasants. Military technology fell behind Europe's naval and industrial innovations. Religious divisions fractured unity, Sunni versus Shia, or Muslim versus Hindu. Why did European powers eventually overtake the great land empires? It was because Europe shifted from land to sea, mastering navigation, finance, and trade networks that bypassed old empires. The story moves from armies and bureaucracy to ships and credit, a transition in technology and innovation, and a transition in economic systems. When we step back and compare the major land based empires of the modern world, clear patterns appear across regions. In terms of governance, each empire relied on a strong, centralized authority supported by a capable bureaucracy. Whether it was the Ming Dynasty's civil service exam system or the Ottoman devshirme, rulers understood that organized administration, not just military force, was essential to keeping power. In technology and innovation, gunpowder played a decisive role. Cannons, muskets, and fortified artillery reshaped warfare and helped empires expand and unify territory. A clear example is the Ottoman cannons under Suleiman I, which broke fortified cities and projected imperial strength across 3 continents. Turning to economic systems, we see that states depended on steady revenue from a mix of sources: tax farming, tribute payments, and silver based taxation. Whether in the Mughal Empire, among the Aztecs, or in the Ming Dynasty, rulers relied on these systems to fund armies, build infrastructure, and sustain their courts. In cultural developments and interactions, art and religion became tools of legitimacy. Monumental building projects and religious sponsorship signaled divine favor and political authority. Structures like the Taj Mahal in Mughal India or the Palace of Versailles in France communicated power not just through size, but through beauty, symbolism, and culture. Finally, in social interactions and organization, elite groups often came from diverse backgrounds and served as the connective tissue of empire. Janissaries in the Ottoman Empire, Ghulams in Persia, and the zamindars in Mughal India all occupied key roles in military, administration, or taxation. These groups helped rulers extend their reach while maintaining local stability. What does this comparison tell us about human governance? It tells us that power rests on both structure and story. Bureaucracy creates control, while culture creates loyalty. Together they sustain civilizations, but only as long as rulers balance strength with justice. Let's connect the reasoning skills. Comparison. Empires shared methods of expansion: military force, bureaucratic control, and cultural legitimacy. Causation. Gunpowder and centralized taxation caused new political and social structures to emerge. Continuity and change. While forms of rule evolved, the need for legitimacy and order remained constant. If you were to rule a vast, diverse empire, what would be your first priority? Military control, fair taxation, or cultural unity? One answer could be cultural unity. Military control enforces obedience, but shared identity sustains it. History shows us that empires fall not only to enemies, but to divisions within. From Istanbul to Isfahan, from Delhi to Beijing, the great land based empires of 1450 to 1750 proved humanity's capacity for organization, creativity, and ambition. They built armies that terrified, cities that dazzled, and cultures that endured. But their decline reminds us that strength without adaptation fades. What connects all empires, ancient and modern, in their rise and fall? It's the cycle of power, legitimacy, and renewal. Empires rise through innovation and unity, and fall when they forget the people who sustain them. I'm Mr. Hutchings. I'd like to thank you for joining me on this episode. Until next time, stay curious. History matters.